Well, hey there. Welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. Once again, we're going to kind of get on the subject of personal responsibility. And it's connected to things that I say lots of times on this channel. And I'm going to give you a good example of why I say things like do some research before you head out on the trail, know your limits. I mean, don't naysay yourself. I get it. You want to push yourself a little bit. Hiking is a good way to do that. But you do have to have some limitations. You have to understand what you can't do. You know, I am in such a shape right now, and things that I would not, no matter if it's a dream or not, try to summit Everest. You know, there's just no way. I understand that that's a limitation of mine, you know. Some people don't have that kind of limitation. It's like, well, it's my dream and I'm supposed to live my dreams. That's great. But here's one reason. Check this out. So you can see there that these folks went out, and according to the story anyway, they headed out fairly unprepared, unknowing about the area, got themselves in trouble, had to be rescued. And then they were charged for the cost of that rescue. And for those of you who think that this is something, the authorities have come up with some new scheme to get money, this is not new. Back when I was learning to backpack in the 1980s, this was a thing. If you go out into the wilderness because of YOLO or hike your own hike, man, I'm just going to do it. And then that YOLO hike your own hike gets yourself in trouble that you need professional rescue for, they're going to charge you for it because you were being basically negligent. And rescues for a lot of departments and stuff, they are expensive, especially if they involve something like helicopters. I mean, just the personnel hours alone can be very expensive. But when you start getting into heavy equipment like helicopters or things like that, rescues are expensive and they will charge you for them. This is not a new thing. This is something, based on some of the comments when this article was posted here and there on some social media sites, there were hikers that were just losing their shit because it was, they just, what? They're going to charge you money for being rescued? Well, yeah, if the rescue is your fault. Yes, they can. What you barking at? So, yeah. Now, one of the big questions I see some folks ask, well, who decides if you were negligent? Well, for the most part, it's going to be the agency who does the rescue. They're going to look at the situation. They're going to hear what you say, how you got in that situation and things like that. So how did you end up out here in this cinder cone in the middle of the Mojave Desert, dehydrated and unable to, you got disorientated and tripped, and so then you were injured, you're unable to get out, so you pressed your escape button. We came and got you. Well, I decided that, man, I'd never hiked it before. I just saw it on the side of the highway. So I pulled over and just, I grabbed my one bottle of water and I headed out there. There it is. You're negligent. You are. You're going into a hiking situation. You don't know how many miles you're going to be doing. Generally, if you don't know, a regular size bottle of water, regular size, is about half a liter of water. I think it's slightly over half, just barely. Yeah, so you're going to carry half a liter of water in the desert to a cinder cone, not knowing how many miles or how long you're going to be out there. Guess what? If you get in trouble doing that, health-wise, and have to be rescued, you're negligent. They're going to charge you for it. Now, is it just their decision? They just send you a bill? Maybe it works that way. For the most part, though, it's kind of like a charge. You end up going to like the equivalent of a civil court and stuff, and the judge will say, yep. He'll look at the preponderance of the evidence and things. It's not like a criminal trial, so it doesn't have to be like this unanimous. It's just going to be generally a judge for the most part, unless you decide to take it to civil court, and then it's going to be a jury of your peers. But I think general people will look at what the agency stacks up against you as, okay, yeah, this is a person who was in their this and that age and the desert, and it was 102 that day in the desert. They carried half a liter of water for what ended up being a 7-mile hike, which they didn't know because they didn't check ahead of time, and so they got 4 miles in and couldn't move anymore because of severe dehydration and blah blah blah. You're done. Okay, most judges and most, I think, competent juries are going to look at that as like, well, that's your fault. You got you in that situation. So yeah, now you got to pay for the situation. So, it's one of the reasons why the leave no trace principles includes it. It's one of the reasons why most scouting organizations, when going out into the wilderness, include the rule, be prepared. Which, in order to be prepared, you're researching, you're checking things out. You don't just YOLO or HYOH out into the woods. You figure out what's the best way to do it. And in doing that, you're able to check, is this something that I can actually realistically do? You know what I mean? With what I've got on hand, type of thing. Now it is, because there are some things, I get it. You look at the Pacific Crest Trail. Oh my gosh, we start just outside of Campo, California at the Mexico border, and 2,650 miles away is the Canada border, and that's where you're headed. That seems daunting and like, oh, no one could do that. And if anybody tried it, they got in trouble. Okay, but there are ways to logistically break that down, and it can be done, obviously. People do it every year, right? So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, literally, the YOLOers, the HYOHers, who decide somehow that hike your own hike translates to being dumb and taking unneeded risk, not researching ahead of time, not knowing what's going on, not having the proper gear. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this section of the PCT, and as far as I've heard, the trail's perfectly marked, so I'm not going to bring any navigation tools. I don't have a compass. I don't have a map. I have nothing on my cell phone, no GPS locator. I'm just going to head on out there and follow the trail. Oh no, the trail is washed out at a certain point, or it gets confusing, or I just somehow got off of it and turned around. Now I need rescue. Yeah, they're going to charge you for that rescue. Just stuff like that. Be prepared. There's a reason for it. Use common sense, because that's usually when it comes down to a judge's decision or things like that. Did you make decisions that a normal, reasonable person would make? If you can say yes to that, generally, and I am no attorney, so do not take this as legal advice. Do not at all. But I'm just saying, generally, that should cover you from being, now I lost the word. But yeah, from not incompetent, but you know what I mean. It's just, for crying out loud, common sense, reasonable decisions, negligent. There we go. You're not being negligent anymore. Okay? If you make these absolutely doesn't make any sense, ridiculous decisions, I'm just going to wander out into this area. I've never been there before, don't have any maps of it, but I've decided it's really cool, and I'm only going to carry half a liter of water, and I have no idea how long I'll be out there, blah, blah, blah. If anything happens during that kind of a hike, it's on you, most cases. Now, do every search and rescue always do that? No, not always. It is basically up to them. It's going to depend on how much time they expended, how much money they expended, what kind of equipment and people got tied up to save your butt. If they were able to send a single person out there, find you, you were still in good enough shape once they gave you some water, electrolytes, things like that, to walk out with them. Maybe not. You might avoid a charge there. Even then, they may still do it just to teach you a lesson, but you might avoid a charge there. But if they're coming at you with search parties and helicopters and almost a full day or more having to find you and look for you and stuff like that, and it's because of your own negligence that all this happened, you better expect a bill. This is not a new thing, like I said at the start. This has been the way it is for a long time, and that is one of the many reasons why you should have your ducks in a row, figure out where you're going and the area you're going into and the kinds of things you're going to need to bring with you. Just in case. Make sure you have your navigation gear. I did a whole video on the at least bare minimum you should always have with you on either a day hike or a backpacking trip. And so, yeah, you need to have that navigation gear. You need to have proper water, proper food. If you're going to be overnighting things, you need to have proper way to sleep, shelter, and things like that. If you don't bring that kind of thing and you do something crazy, because I'm not talking about just walking along the trail and you happen to not see a root that sticks out, you trip on that root and take a tumble off the side of the trail down a little bit, it breaks your leg or something like that. More than likely, that's not going to be considered negligence. And if they tried to say, yo, you were negligent because you were clumsy and tripped on a root, that's probably not going to hold up because people do that, It's not like you meant to. Everything else you had with you, you were ready to be out there. You had plenty of water with you. You had this, you had that. You were all set to be out there, but you just missed a root and you tripped on it. Yeah, that kind of thing isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about, like I've said, the folks who just decide, oh, I'm just going to do this, and out they go. They don't have the right gear. They don't have the proper water to help them, food, any of that kind of stuff, and then something happens. So there we go. It's a simple hiker homily, right? It just seems like common sense, but there's a bunch of people in the comments. That's just not fair. Why are they going to charge me for if the rescue is required because of something you doing that is stupid? Yeah, I have no problem with them charging you money for it to pay for that rescue. That's on you. Don't be stupid. Oh my goodness, it's just. Don't take those risks. Don't YOLO just because. And, HYOH, I'm just going to do it my way. Well, if your way is negligent and creates issues, okay, there you go. As usual, if you have any comments and questions on that, any experience in this area one way or the other, either as search and rescue volunteer or crew member, or someone who's been picked up by search and rescue and maybe it was talked about that, wow, you shouldn't have been out here type of thing. Any kind of experience like that, as usual, comments down below, anywhere else this gets posted. And also, you can get a hold of me at hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. Other than that, it's been really good. Hey, the weather's been great. Now all I have to do is, because it's one thing after another. Not only was it hot weather lately, so I just haven't had the inclination to get out there on the trails. But I've been dealing with family health issues. My mom has been in the ER something like 5 times in the past 6 weeks. Yeah. So haven't been inclined to get out there as much. But now we're getting weather in the nice 80s. It's really nice out here, especially in the morning time. It's perfect, mid 60s to low 70s. Fantastic for hiking, nice and clear. So going to do some fall hiking here pretty soon. I've got a couple of trails pegged out that I am researching, so I'm not YOLOing and heading out there. So we'll be doing that. So hopefully that'll be translate as more hike reports coming up on the channel. And other than that, I think we're going to hang out here. This is, look at, I got the gang over here. That's Max, and this one is Mickey. So, from Max and Mickey and I'll see you next time.